Hi everyone, it's Lindy. Welcome back to my channel. So today I want to tell you guys about the mistakes that I just can't stop making. Maybe you'll be able to relate to some of them. Maybe you can give me some tips on how to stop making the mistakes over and over and over again. Or maybe you'll just get a kick out of hearing about every time I screw up. Whatever. We're all here. Let's do it. So the first mistake that I am always making is overbuying. Purchasing too much, sourcing more than I'm selling and more than I'm listing. It is a constant problem, and that I know I'm not alone. I know I'm not the only reseller out there that has this problem, but it really is a big problem, and it's a really simple fix, but I just don't fix it. I don't fix it. We like to shop, we like to treasure hunt, but where we run into trouble is when we do that too much and we slow down in our listing and we're buying significantly more than we are putting out into the universe to resell. So the really easy fix for that, and I know how to fix it, I just don't fix it. I just keep making the same mistake over and over and over again. The way to fix it is to put a cap on the amount that you are sourcing and to set clear goals for yourself, like I'm only going to source this amount of merchandise in a certain amount of time, or I'm going to make sure that I list a certain amount of items over a given amount of time. That prevents death piles, because overbuying is where death piles come from. It's really a super simple equation. If you buy 100 things, but you are only ever consistently listing 50 of them, you're always going to have a surplus of merchandise that just never gets listed. So a lot of us, we can't physically list more than a certain amount, especially if we are doing this whole thing by ourselves, right? If you're a one-man show, there's literally only so much that you can list. Maybe you are obligated to a full-time job and reselling on eBay or some other online platform. Maybe that's a secondary source of income for you. So the time constraints that you have really restrict the amount that you're able to list. So, and even if it's your full-time job, you know, you can't physically list more than you can list. Even if you list 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, there's only so many that you can put out into the world. So if you are consistently buying more than you are physically able to list, you're always going to have a surplus of merchandise, which is going to mean piles upon piles of stuff that's just sitting around, not making you any money, and just giving you, you know, a whole bunch of extra stress that you probably don't need. So one of the mistakes that I wish that I could stop making is over sourcing and overbuying merchandise. If I was to fix this mistake, I would simply take the amount of items that I know I can list every single week, whether it be a really minimal 15 or 20 items, or really pushing myself and have it be something like 75 items. I would be so conscientious of that I would make sure not to physically source more than I can actually list. Now, if I'm doing things like pallets or wholesale boxes, that's completely different because you have to buy the items in bulk. And you know, if you're buying 1,000-piece pallet, of course you won't be able to list 1,000 pieces in a week unless you have help. But being able to conscientiously know that, okay, I'm getting 1,000 items and I can only list 50 items a week, and then be able to break down how long it's going to take you to list those 1,000 items and try to curb your shopping and your sourcing during that time so that you don't become so overwhelmed. Because when we get into the position where we're buying, and you can't list as much as you're buying, then you're always going to have stuff that just never gets listed. So the end goal, what I would love to do for myself, if I can stop making this big mistake, is I would love to completely get rid of death piles Entirely. No more death piles, no more surplus of goods. I would just source, bring the stuff into my office, get it photographed, get it listed, put it away, and then go out and find more stuff. That is the end goal. Forever. Speaking of putting stuff away, that is mistake number 2. The mistake that I constantly make that causes more of a headache than it should is putting away listed inventory. So I have become so used to listing items as fast as I can and simply throwing items in a bin to inventory later. But before I know it, later is weeks and weeks and weeks away. I have items that are sitting around waiting to be inventoried that I listed last February, which is, 7 months ago. So what ends up happening, and this is where the problem lies, what ends up happening is if you don't inventory the items that you're listing immediately, when they sell, you have to go hunt for it. I don't like hunting to find things. I hate it. I prefer to have an inventory number or an inventory placement of some kind. The item sells, I'm able to walk straight into my inventory space, pull it, ship it, done, good. But now I have become so insistent on the speedy process of listing that I always worry about inventorying later when I have time. And that has really amounted to probably 5 bins of items that have no inventory number, no placement in the inventory system at all. And then when something sells, it takes me significantly longer to find it than if it was inventoried with a specific number in a specific bin in a specific place that I would be able to just pull, do shipping, and be done. When I have to actually dig through bins of goods to find something because there's no inventory number on it, it's very stressful. I worry that maybe the item sold and I just don't have it anymore. There's just copious amounts of stress that come with not having your item in inventory immediately. So, what can I do to fix this? And again, I know how to fix it. It's a mistake that I keep making over and over and over and over again. As soon as I list the item, put it in a bag that has a corresponding inventory number on it and put it away when I'm done. That's it. It's all so simple. All I have to do is have the inventory numbers sitting next to me at the computer. As soon as I list something, grab the inventory bag, stick the item in it, wrap it up, throw it in the bin to get put away. That's all I have to do. But do I do it? No. Should I do it? Uh-huh. And staying in this same area is actually putting the inventoried stuff away. So it's one thing to tag an item with an inventory number, and it's something completely different to physically put it where it goes. So if I'm sitting there listing items, putting the merchandise into, a bag that has, or some sort of a compartment that has an ID number of some kind so that I can find it, then the next step is actually putting it where it goes. So when it sells, I can easily find it. This I struggle with jeans. I will be making another updated inventory video for you guys very soon, but when I list jeans, when I'm in the process of listing jeans, every single pair of jeans gets an inventory number from the start. I have to have an inventory number with jeans so that I can locate it in the photographs. But the problem that I have is then after I have listed the pair of jeans, I will simply stick it in a bin to be inventoried later, and then I never inventory them. So then if they happen to sell, I'm forced to dig through bins of jeans that were not put where they were supposed to be put. And how is that solved? How is that solved? By simply putting them on the shelf where they go with the corresponding number. But do I do it? No, because I'll have time later. I'll inventory later. I like using quotations. And then the third mistake that I can't stop making is buying things just because they're cheap. Yep, this goes right along with mistake number one. When you're overbuying things, you're buying too much that you never get listed. And when this happens, it's when you find something that you know is a very good deal. It's almost free, essentially. You're like, wow, this is $1. It's practically free. And then you end up buying it and it sits in a corner in a death pile in your office for a year. And all it does is cause you stress and make you feel like you need to hurry up and get things listed. And, you know, for instance, let's say that I'm at the Goodwill outlet and I'm buying things by the pound, and maybe there is a really adorable shirt that I paid $1/4 for by weight, you know, 25 cents. It's basically free. And I know that it's going to sell for, you know, at least $10. And if you ask anybody, you know, 25 cents into $10 is pretty good. So why not go ahead and buy that shirt? But you have to kind of think to yourself, okay, well, how long is it going to sell? If it's really super common, if it's a common item, it could take forever to sell. And that item is sitting in your inventory and you're constantly having to relist it. And if you have a store subscription where you've already used up all of your insertions and you are actually relisting more items than your freebies every single month, then every single month you're having to spend 10 cents to relist it over and over again. It's taking up space in inventory. And then if it takes 1.5 years for it to sell and you end up taking an offer of $7 or $8, then after all is said and done, all of that work that you put in, you waited, essentially, you waited 1.5 years to make like a $5 or $6 profit. And is that really worth it in the end? I don't know. I mean, that's up for you to determine, but it's a mistake that I constantly make because I end up getting so overwhelmed with the amount of merchandise that I have and the death piles and all of these things that I have to do that I find myself looking at items and I'm like, wow, I just bought a lot of this stuff just because it was cheap and I'm just never getting around to listing it. And it's not anything exciting. It's nothing that makes me want to, you know, do a dance and list. It was just cheap. That's why I bought it. And then it ends up sitting in a death pile because I just don't have the time to list it. And so in order to fix that mistake, I need to just be better conscious about what I'm buying. Just because something is cheap, if there's nothing really significant or special about it, it's probably not worth it to buy it. And I think that I have enough experience in that area now to where I can actually do that when I'm outsourcing. You know, if I'm at a Goodwill or if I'm at the Goodwill outlet and I'm standing there and I'm looking at an article of clothing and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is only $1. It's on sale. It's only $1. I can stand there and really evaluate in my brain if I'm actually going to list it or not. Because there has been more times than I care to admit items that I have bought and ended up redonating or giving away because I just wanted it out of my house. I just wanted it gone because it was sitting in a death pile for way too long. And they're items that I bought at Goodwill outlet because they were really lightweight, so they were basically free. Or I got them half off at Goodwill, or I caught, you know, a sale at a thrift store where something was only $0.25 or 50 cents. And there was nothing significant about the item. It was just cheap. So I bought it. And it ended up causing me headache and stress and an even bigger death pile. So moving forward, I'm going to do my best to stop making this mistake because I am tired of dealing with death pile clutter. So here is to not buying things just because they're cheap anymore. Okay, you guys, that's all I have for you today. Just those 3 big mistakes. I'm sure that some more will occur to me, and there will probably be a part 2 of this video, but those are the 3 big ones that are plaguing me at the moment. I'm really curious. What are the mistakes that you can't stop making in your business? Stick it down in the video comments. I'm really curious to see how many people still struggle with these exact same mistakes that I do, and what other mistakes you continue to make over and over and over again, even when you know it's a mistake. You keep doing it. I always like to hear of all of the little things that people are doing, because then when we know the mistakes that we're making, we can work to find resolutions so that we can hopefully stop making these same mistakes. One day we will stop making these same mistakes. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up so that I know. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them down in the comments below. Do not forget to check the video description for useful links. And if you have not yet subscribed, I hope you will for more content. And I will see you guys with my next video. Bye.